Okay, looks like we are live for, I believe, the sixth Wooden Cubes and Iron Soldiers webcast. I hope everybody's doing well, and hopefully you guys will catch up and tell us that we're live. Lance, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. Thanks for putting this together kind of last minute. We just exchanged a couple of texts today and, hey, what the heck? Let's just get together and do this. So
Yeah,
now we're doing this.
and it's
So
going to let me take my mind off our unfortunate World Cup loss today. But
I wish I cared. I
yeah,
honestly I wish I cared. I have a bunch of people in my work that were just riveted to their smartphones. It's kind of funny. Our company actually made the decision to disable our YouTube access and also access to any kind of a sports thing because of the fact that they thought we were going to be using up too much bandwidth streaming sports scores, streaming whatever. When World Cup started, they just decided they were going to do that, and so people
huh?
like freaking lost their minds. They said productivity would decrease, and I was mad because I don't use YouTube for anything. I just use YouTube to listen to music, and I was just
Right.
like, great. So now I can't listen to my death metal at work because there's a bunch of people that care about soccer for 3 weeks out of the year, every 4 years. So
Right.
thank you. First world problems, blah blah blah. But still, it was annoying.
That's annoying that your company would do that. This seems un-American to me.
Well, that's just it. And the thing is they didn't even say it was that. It was just like, we have it was ridiculous. It's like we've made the decision to disable access to these websites or whatever, for like customer reasons or customary appreciation reasons, like basically, however, normal service will return on like July 14th, which is right after the World Cup is over. So it was a little ridiculous. Hey, my
Wow.
cat wants to say hi. Anyway, I don't know. So yeah, so whatever. It's a big giant company, so they can do whatever they want. They still
Yeah.
pay me, so I really can't complain. So,
Hmm.
but so this, I remember I talked to you a little bit ago. I said we got to do a big giant mega podcast about Gen Con again, like we did last year. And but
Yes, we do.
this is not that. So did you read anything about Origins or anything? Did you see anything that got talked about or anything at all?
Yeah, there was a few things. The Dice Tower did like 61 videos from their booth that they had at Origins, and there was a couple of things. I can kind of bring that up while we're chit-chatting over here, but there was a couple things that looked interesting that came out that looked like they were going to probably be released at Gen Con. There wasn't a whole lot of um, stuff released at Origins. I mean, AEG had a lot of stuff like Istanbul, I think, and I saw a lot of play there, a couple of things like that. But it seems like other folks have said Origins is kind of like the ramp up to Gen Con, that kind of idea. So I mean that's kind of cool.
Well, it
If
seemed
that's
to
what you want
me
it to be.
actually that it seemed to me that they actually finally released some stuff at Origins. I mean, for the longest time, they hadn't done that. I mean, the
Hmm.
last time I remember anything of any importance that got released at Origins, whether I know this you don't like the game, but Quarriors got released at
Right,
Origins how many years
right.
ago now? 4 or 5 years ago, and
Not that long, yeah. But what one
yeah,
actually got released though? I think everything was. I mean, AEG stuff. You could kind of call that a release, but that was really out. I think like a week or so before you could go pick it up in stores. I don't think there was anything like.
no, Istanbul
You
released there. I know that.
Did
I know
it?
it did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm almost positive. So
Yeah, you might as well call it that because it
yeah.
basically released there.
I had somebody play Mule for me, and they picked up a copy of Chinatown for me, which was out
Oh,
of print
nice.
forever. But yeah, because it's a really good game, and of course I sold it, and then I'm kind of mad because like the old version was a big box and it had lots of awesome wood components and stuff like this, and this it was bigger than it needed to be. The box was. But
Hmm.
this one's they kind of compacted it. Instead of wood, there's plastic tokens. It's still basically the same game. It's still a really good game, but it was out of print forever.
Right.
But then I heard that Origins was gonna have it in limited quantities, and then they're gonna release it like the full releases in like after Gen Con. And I just didn't want to wait that long, so I had our good buddy Major Malfunction go and grab that for us.
Oh, good.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, so he snagged that for me. Keith did, and then
Do you have a chance to play it yet?
I played it with we'd played it before, so I just played with my buddies. And same game, it's just smaller box. It's like I remember back in the day I used to love getting giant boxes. I love that idea, but
Right.
now I realize that it's just like the smaller when your game shelf starts getting filled, you kind of start saying, well, I need to. You wish like look at Splendor. Splendor could have been in a
Oh, yeah.
very very tiny box, but and it's just when you're there is something beautiful looking at a big giant row of games, and and just you can bask in their glory. But man, it's ridiculous after you start having a couple hundred board games, or even 100, even 50. It takes up a lot of real estate in your house or your shelves or what have you. So. It's kind of funny. I went over to a buddy's house the other night. I'm lucky enough to have John Gilmore's Dead of Winter print and play copy. He basically made himself that he took to conventions, whatever, to pimp his game, and he sent that to me so I could play it. And I brought that over to my buddy's house. That he's married, he's got kids and everything, but every corner of his house. You see board games like stacked up. They're just like because they get played and like they're in corners of rooms. And I'm like, oh, I'm not the only one that does that because my wife just drive her crazy because she like everywhere in the house she sees like she'll find a board game or rules to a board game or something lying around. And then eventually I'll come home and they're all stacked up in a big giant tower in front of the room door to my game room, waiting for me to put them away. So. But there you go. Have you played anything new lately, man? Anything of interest?
Yeah. I played what's it called? Battle Merchants from Minion Games. That's a new release. I think it's coming out to Kickstarter backers now-ish.
Yeah, I did a Kickstarter review for that way back when it was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a funky game. It's weird.
Like it.
Yeah. I like the process of it's yet another Euro that could be about anything, but it's a cool idea. I mean, as far as it could be UFOs and whatever. I mean, so thematically it's kind of neat, playing the role of one of those people making the weapons for those battling factions, but
right. Yeah, I like that you can sell to both sides of the battle, and lose to yourself, and you can kind of zerg out and try to get a bunch of crappy weapons to outfit the guys to get the battle going. What you can kind of slow down and wait and kind of get the extra powers and tech up your crafting and all kinds of good stuff like that. So that was good. I only played it once so far. I'll probably play it again on Thursday. So
what's Thursday? Your big gaming night or what?
Yeah, usually Thursday is the game night. Thursday and maybe Friday too. I'm actually going to do some 4th of July gaming this year. So.
I'm going to do some gaming on the 5th of July, possibly the 6th of July. And this is something I was going to tell you, but well, who cares? I'll tell right now. So no, this and I'm kind of giving something away, and because it's going to be kind of a surprise, and there's like a chance, 1 chance in 100 that it won't work out or whatever, but who knows? But there are very few. Like, I mean, we're fortunate when we go to like Gen Con and stuff like that, and we get to meet lots of different people, and we get to meet, like, I got to meet like Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, which they wrote the Dragonlance novels. I mean, that was just
awesome.
cool. It's like, yeah, when I was like 12, I was reading these books like crazy, and I thought they were amazing. It was just kind of neat to meet them, and there's stuff like that. But
mm-hmm.
I've done these podcasts and done these things and done my videos, and I've mentioned constantly. And I'll trivia question for you. Who do I say is my biggest inspiration? The reason why I started doing this in the first place.
Scott Nicholson.
There you go.
Yeah.
Scott Nicholson is going to be gaming with me this weekend. He is
cool.
He is coming to Fergus Falls, Minnesota, where his parents live, which is about an hour away from me. And either I'm driving to his parents' lake cabin, or he's driving to my house, and I'm going to game with Scott Nicholson this weekend. And I am totally geeking out about the of finally getting to meet him. You know, after
Awesome.
exchange. Yeah, I know. I'm like, it's crazy. It's silly, but I'm really looking forward to the fact that I'm going to most likely have pictures of Scott in my game room with me, and so.
Great.
So yeah, so I'm like really looking forward to this 4th of July weekend. It should be awesome.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's weird. I mean, it's like I met Tom Vassell. I met you. I met Jeremy, Drakenstrike Jeremy. I mean, it's just like I met Marco. Like the only really prolific reviewers of board game stuff out there that I haven't met are like Ender's Game, which I still exchange emails with him on a sporadic basis, but but he's like a mystery man anyway, and then like who's the last one I was trying to think of? I mean, like I know Ryan Metzler and Callendale. I'd love to sit down and just play anything with Callendale and to see how that goes over.
As would I. Yep.
I'd love to see if he's I want to spend like a 6-hour stretch of stream of consciousness with Callendale.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no. He actually posts. I think he's what do you call underrated? But
extremely. He's prolific. He's
prolific and he's smart, and he investigates the game beyond its salability and its marketability, and goes beyond into the world of philosophy and art and all that stuff without being a pretentious douche about it too, and like he just no, he does. I mean, he goes and says, if you go watch his Monopoly review, because he does like a playthrough and then he'll do a review part at the end as an extra video. I mean, he reviews Monopoly with a straight face, and when I watched that review, he was bringing up all of these strategies that I'm like, man, I remember that strategy. I remember talking about that with my brother. Of course, this was when we were like in high school or something, and I couldn't put words to it really. But I was like, yeah, we used to discuss that. The orange properties and the green properties are really the best, and Park Place and the other ones aren't that great. And he just reviewed it without being all tongue in cheek about it. And I'm like, there's no other reviewer. I mean, even myself, if I reviewed Monopoly one day for some reason, I'd feel like I almost have to be tongue-in-cheek. But he's able to remove himself from all that and just review it, and I'm like, God, that's a great review,
Well, exactly. Like, if you or I did that review, either we would, we could try to do, like, a serious tone, but then it would be almost like a joking serious tone, and then people would assume that we were being funny, if you will, trying to putting in play. But for him, you can buy into it, I guess. And of course, we get to meet Richard.
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
So I mean, that'll be nice to finally meet the man of the hour, if you will. Hey, did you email him? Is he going to maybe meet us or join us for the podcast about Gen Con?
I haven't talked to him about it. I mean, we were shooting emails back and forth whenever it was like a month ago. And we just can't seem to. He lives in Spain, so
he lives in Malta. He lives in
yeah.
Malta, not Spain.
Well,
you call yourself a fan.
Hopefully, we can try to get a bigger hangout, like a long kind of epic hangout with Richard, because he hasn't been to Gen Con yet. And, just be fun to have him on there, and we can just chat about it from all his angles.
I just want to follow him and watch the fanboys go crazy to meet him. So that's what I'm looking forward to that more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you been playing? It'll be. Oh, what have I been playing? I've been playing that Dead of Winter copy that I have.
Oh, Lance has been kicked from the YouTube cast. What happened?
No. Gosh, I can already see your name's going to be like BSG Killer or something, I think is what you're going to probably end up calling it on your video.
I don't use Killer anymore. Give me a break.
I know you don't. Why not? Why'd you get rid of that?
Because I got bored of it, and somebody posted something on their T-shirt one day, and I don't want to be related to that. Anyway, go ahead. Doesn't matter. How is the Dead of Winter?
Well, I gave up name and doing names for my little one sentence quotes or for mine just because I couldn't think of anything anymore. I would like get ready to post my video to BGG, and I'd sit there for like 15 minutes trying to come up with something funny or clever, and I'd just be like, ah. And then I ended up doing something because I thought I had to, and then it was just like lame and stupid. So, no, Dead of Winter. I mean, I could go on for the next like probably the rest of this podcast about it. I'll say this: it's like I did a review a little bit ago about a game called Camp Grizzly. I don't know if you watched that or saw it or anything like that, but
Yeah.
Camp
Quick
Grizzly.
thing, Lance. It looks like there's a little glitch on your view of the Hangout. Do you have like your
Yeah.
name selected or anything? Like try clicking off into the middle.
What now?
Like
What did I do?
It's stuck on you. Like the Hangout's stuck on you. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So if you look at your window, do you see like me and you in the bottom right?
I just see me in the bottom right. I don't.
Okay.
I'm looking right at you. You sexy animal.
Are you clicked on you? Like, click on me and the big picture of me in the middle.
All right, I just did.
All right. Okay, let's just leave it. If that doesn't fix it, then whatever. All right. So you played Camp Grizzly. Sorry.
Okay,
continue.
so I don't know if you looked into that or anything like that, or watched
I
my
haven't
review.
yet. I want to.
Camp Grizzly is one of the most fun games I've played in a long time, just because it is everything about the game. It fits exactly late 80s, early 90s horror slash movies.
Right.
It's a Friday the 13th. You play a camp counselor in Camp Grizzly, and basically the game opens up with everybody's around the campfire late at night after the kids have gone to bed, and like some dude's severed head gets thrown into the campfire, middle of the campfire, and you turn around and this giant guy wearing a I think it's like he's got a bear, like a teddy bear head over like a mask on with and a big giant like basically a garden rake in his head, and like just bloody, of course, charges in, and so everybody scatters, and so your whole thing is that this guy starts stalking you, and it everything of the cards and the actions and everything like that. It's actually like a semi-cooperative game that actually is semi-cooperative due to the fact that like you kind of have to work together, but you can't win obviously if you get killed. It isn't like a game where it's like, oh, I died, well I'll get a new character. No,
Right.
you're just out and he's dead, and every single person that he kills, he gets stronger. And that doesn't mean necessarily the people that are playing the game. There's like NPCs that enter the game, and then if he runs into them, he kills them. And so as he ramps up in power really, really quickly. And at first, he's really slow, and like so you can kind of run away and you can get away.
Mm-hmm.
But as he gets more powerful, he's like starts picking up speed, and like you basically can't get away. And then he starts doing so much damage that he can one-shot you if he ends up in the same room, ends up in the same area as you, and you don't have a weapon. And so and the cards themselves are like, there's this thing where it's like you tempt fate. So like anytime you end up having to do something really stupid, you have to tempt fate, and you like pull cards out of a deck. And if you pull a card that says that Otis, that's the guy's name, Otis strikes, he attacks you, and the whole game it plays like that. And it's not so much a thinking man's game as it is a scream at your friends across the table game. At the very beginning, everybody works. Okay, you go get the keys. I'll go over here and I'll search for the battery for the van so we can get away. You go over there, and at the very beginning, everybody's really working together. And then as like you start taking more damage and things start happening to you, you start just totally like, screw them, they're dead to us. Just and we take off and we run, and you can, and like if you get all the pieces that you need to escape, you can leave everybody behind and just go. So it's actually a really, really, really fun game. The only thing that stinks about it is that basically it's impossible to get a hold of right now. I got sent a high quality kind of demo game that they had from Game Crafter that they sent me, but the game actually just hasn't come out yet or anything. So I mean, it's like one of those things where it's a Kickstarter game and they're still waiting to get all their final proofs and everything like that. But so I urged people to. I know for a fact that if you contact them and you think it's a game you want, you can contact them and say, I'd like to buy a game, and you can send them money and you can pre-order it through the company. You just got to shoot them an email. I've had a lot of people like say that they've done that. Maybe they can't. I don't want to get an angry email if they say they can't do it. But as for as a little while ago, people were still emailing Ameritrash Games is what they call themselves. And just go to the Kickstarter and you can type in Camp Grizzly and you'll find the thing.
Okay,
and
I was totally wanting to check that out.
Yeah, so you can definitely check that out. But then and then now I thought, okay, that's like the most fun game I played all year long. I mean, it's not a heavy thinking game. It's not a, but the game is just fun, flat out fun. So then I got Dead of Winter. And now I feel bad because now this one's actually more fun because of the fact that it reminds me, there's a lot of Battlestar Galactica to it, which of course is one of my top games ever, is Battlestar Galactica, just for the sheer fun of it. Right. Dead of Winter is, as John and Isaac said, it's the zombie game without the zombies. I mean, the zombies are there, but I mean, it's like, and they ultimately can be the ones that make you lose the game, but they're just more of like any good cooperative game is it's just these constant threats to you. It's like, oh, we don't have enough food, our morale's running low. The like literally like the place can your colony can get too much garbage in it. I mean, it's just, that sounds weird, but it's like as you use cards, if you don't like actually like you basically put the cards that you use in this pile. And if you don't take care of the mess, like by having somebody clean it out, you can lose morale just because like your place is like becoming like full of all this junk and sickly and things like that. Because you got leftover crap all over your place. This cat is driving me crazy. So
participate. You're talking about a favorite game.
Yeah, I know. So I mean. And it's got and look, the cool thing about Dead of Winter is that one, you don't have a guaranteed trader. Like when you sit down and play Battlestar Galactica, you know for a fact, okay, well somebody's going to be trying to screw us over eventually. You just know that depending on the number of players. And in this game, it's like each person gets a role. And that they have. Like the first game I played, I was a historian, and that meant I had to have a certain number of books, which are cards, basically a card that has a book on it, in my hand at the end of the game, meaning that they haven't been used. But the books that I got were really useful. Like one of them was the ability that like you could fight zombies without risking yourself to a fear of exposure, which is actually a big deal because because it's dead of winter, it's really cold outside. Anytime you go outside, which means like fighting zombies when you go outside, you can get frostbite, or you can just take a wound from the wind, or like you can just get bitten and killed when you go outside. So like that little card, that book is really powerful, but I keep it in my hand and I hold on to it. And so I'm actually like weakening the colony by not using it. But unless I fulfill that goal, at the end of the game, even if we managed to defeat the main objective, which in this case was we had to kill like a certain number of zombies and achieve like these little samples of their flesh so we could try to find a cure. Even if we achieved that, if I didn't have those cards in my hand, we'd lose. I mean, I'd lose. The other people might win, but me personally, I'd lose the game. And so you have to like have a mental attitude of like, I want to win. So like you can't play the game in a way that you say like, well, it's okay if you guys win and I don't. No, you have to kind of play like, let's all win and all succeed. But there's that problem. Now the problem is that sometimes like the things that like are your goal, you get that one betrayer card that's in there, which is usually like something bad. Like the betrayer is like they want the colony to fail.
Right.
So you can out and out screw with the colony in some way, to like but then you become known and then you get exiled and then what you're supposed to do changes. So you don't want to do that. You just have to be like woefully ignorant of what you need to do kind of way. It's just like you have to like be kind of like inept, but not so inept that people will accuse you of being inept. But there's some of the things that aren't even betrayers. Like one of the things, like one of the cards.
Man, you're totally spoiling it. I'm gonna slow you down here because I'm like,
no. One of the cool things, like one of the objectives is like they actually needed. A buddy of mine had it. They actually had to make sure that a certain number of people within the colony died, but they still wanted us to win. which is like, it's one of those things where it's like, it's like, how do you have to like walk this incredibly fine line between the two and try to figure out what you need to do. And of course, then the coolest thing probably about the game, and then you meant when we did our podcast before, like they talked about these crossroads cards, and I did, when John and Isaac were explaining them, I kind of understood what they were talking about, but I didn't really understand until I actually played it. And what happens is that on your turn, the person to your right draws this crossroads card, and on the crossroads card, it has a set example of circumstances that if you ever meet on your turn, they hand you the card, and then that card will make you make a decision.
Right.
They'll make like the colony make a decision. They'll make the colony make a vote, and things like that. And those are like, sometimes it's never like hey, it's like sometimes they're good things, like, oh, if this person is within your colony, they can read the Chinese language on the box, and so they know what it's for or whatever, and so then they can fix this thing or whatever, and that's just nothing. But sometimes it's like you find this old tanker truck and it's full of gas, and so you can get it back to the colony and it would really help you guys out. But it's going to make a lot of noise, and if you drive it back to the colony, you're going to drag like 15 zombies along with you. What do you want to do? And it's up to you and you alone, because you're out in the wild, and you find this thing, and so you make that decision. Everybody's like, no zombies, and you're like, but we need the fuel. It's how you make a decision, and those are the cool things that make the game a ton of fun. Plus, it's so tough. I haven't won the game yet. We played it like a half a dozen times now, and we're just. I mean, the one time we almost won, one guy was the betrayer, and he just sabotaged us so perfectly towards the end. He basically sent his own followers out to a spot where he knew zombies were going to show up, and then he didn't move them, and then we couldn't kill the zombies fast enough, and the zombies ate his followers, and that caused our morale to lower, and we just, it was like one of those things where we were just boned. It just sucked. We didn't realize that at first. We're like, why are you letting those guys die? And you're just, oh, we'll be fine.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I mean, the game's tough. It's a lot of fun. And I think it's weird. It's like you and I have had I'm not gonna say love-hate relationship with Plaid Hat games, but I mean, there's been a few games that I've liked from Plaid Hat.
Right.
But the only game I've really, really enjoyed is Mice and Mystics, which I play with.
That's probably my favorite from them.
I play that with my daughter. My daughter loves that. And it's like when we have to decide on D&D night if we play that or D&D, she has trouble deciding between the two, and then but all the rest of them is just kind of like, well, I mean, like City of Remnants, I kind of liked it, but it didn't dazzle me. The same thing. Our mutual dislike for Summoner Wars is well known, at least to us anyway.
Well, you know what I like about Plaid Hat is they don't really do their same old run of the mill, and maybe that's because they have that Ameritrash bent. It's easy to pump out a similar quote unquote run of the mill Euro than it is an Ameritrash game. The Ameritrash game's gonna have a lot more warts on it that are apparent. Whereas if you design a Euro and it's well designed, you're like, okay, that was nicely designed, like it's harmless. But if your Ameritrash game is kind of junky, it's going to just be obvious, unless you're really into that theme, and that's going to be a specific niche for people that really enjoy the theme. But I think that they do a good job of pushing that limit, because Summoner Wars at the time it came out, there's not really any games like it. I mean, it's kind of like Magic, but almost like a miniatures game, And we've had some games that are kind of in that area, but really nothing like that since then. Maybe Mage Wars, but I mean they're so different from each other. And BioShock Infinite is kind of your straight up dudes on a map game, and City of Remnants is kind of that. But City of Remnants had a lot of cool things. Like you said, it's one of those that I really wanted to like, but it just kind of was too awkward for me. And Mice and Mystics, it's. I guess on the surface it's kind of like, you could play Ravenloft or, some other dungeon crawl, but it's so based in the story, and, it's basically like a movie script that you play through. in such a unique little world, and they went kind of the extra mile with the little mice minis, which are really well done, and it's just
Yep.
that's a theme. I mean, what other game other than Redwall, which is relatively popular? There's not really any mice games, about miniature people that are mice. And then like
Yeah.
with this one, it seems really new and innovative. And I guess Bioshock's unique thing is kind of it's based on a video game, and it kind of has. Well, I'm going to say this. It really reminds me of War of the Ring, Bioshock Infinite, because you have the two sides, like the free people and the Mordor folks. In the case of Bioshock Infinite, I don't remember what the factions are called, but they're both evil, and you have this other sort of character-driven thing happening that's really annoying to both of you with Alice. I know her name's not Alice. I can't remember him, but Alice and the dude that you play in the video game. That's kind of moving around annoying. It's kind of like Frodo and Sam as the ring bearers moving through the game, and that really is a huge part of the game because you try to score extra points from them and try not to tick them off too much to get your guys blown up. So it is dudes on the map, but it's also very different in that way. But anyway, I do think it's probably going to be a hit or miss thing with them because it's like they're going to try different stuff and not just say, hey, let's pump out another worker placement game or something just to pick a random mechanic.
Yeah. So, no. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And the thing is that look recently. I mean, it's just like it seems like, man, it seems like lately if you throw a rock, you're hitting a new Euro that's coming out. And,
it's been that way for years now, but yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, look at like Helios by Z-Man. It's something I want to try, but I get the impression it's just gonna be another walk down that road again, and I'm sure it'll be.
Yeah.
And I'm not bash. I picked that name out of a hat, so don't designers of Helios. If somehow you ever listen to this, don't take offense. It's just it's. I'm sure if I played it, I'd say, "Wow, that's a really well put together game, and it's got a nice little mechanics and whatever." But, I mean, look at there's that new game Sultania or whatever, the new one from Ipsahan or whatever. The people that do the games that always have YS in their name. Like, remember, you know what I'm talking about? Like they made Metropolis, they made Istara, yeah. So they like Sultania or whatever. They have a new one or whatever, and then just yet another game that they came out with, and then it just seems like when my Euro time comes up, it seems like I'm busting out stuff that I know that I like and I know that I played. Like I just played like In the Year of the Dragon. An old Stefan Feld game that I just absolutely love. I think that's his best design he's ever made. I'm kind of in a company of my own there thinking that, but it's oh, In the Year of the Dragon's awesome, man.
It's all right. I don't hate it.
It's so
I hate it. I'm sorry. I do hate it.
You hate it? Why do you hate it?
Yeah, I don't like it. I was just, like I have a shelf of Stefan Feld almost, and it is not there. So it's like one of those that I really don't think there's a design issue or, whatever. Like, objectively, I don't think it's a bad game, but I'd never want to play it, ever.
Because you know why, right? Because it's too difficult. The game is cruel and punishes you.
No, it's not that. To me, it's the same as playing Trajan or whatever. But it's like, okay, I can't get my brain to work out, okay, the least negative. Just flip the thing in and make this worth 3 points and that worth 10 points.
Oh, see, that's what it's like.
Yeah,
it's too tough for you. I get it. It's too tough.
Yeah, it's not that. I've played second out of like 4 or 5 players in that one game I played of it. And other times I've been last, but it's just not. I don't know. It's like I have a goal. I want to have a goal. Like you strategize not to starve. You strategize not to get the plague or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean I see what you're saying. I mean, and you're wrong, but I get what's up. But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where I I can't. I've been having a lot of trouble, like bringing myself to like really enjoy any of the new Euro stuff that's coming down the pipe right now. And it seems like, I mean, and I don't want to, like, I remember I said I wanted to grind my gears a little bit in this conversation, but, and this is circulatory. I mean, I get like this every once in a while, and then sometimes I'm like, there's like games that are like, oh, that's so great. Like a while ago when like Russian Railroads came out and Bruxelles 1893 or whatever. I mean, it was a couple of games that I was really excited, and they were good games, and I enjoyed them. Russian Railroads, I'm upset with that game now because
no, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm upset with it because it just seems like now. We played it too much. I mean, we've now.
I'm right there with you, honestly, Lance.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, I got my enjoyment out of the game. I got my money out of it. I mean, I did, but now it's like when I set it up, and my friends love it, but it's like, but they don't understand that every time it gets played, I'm playing it, but they're not always the one that I'm playing with. So it's like, oh, let's play Russian Railroads again. I'm like. All right. Yeah. Am I gonna take the factory strategy this time, or am I going to take the doubler strategy this time? Am I going to, and it's just like, and after like the second or third turn, I know what I'm going to be doing, and it's like I know the puzzle that I'm going to be figuring out. How am I going to get that done? And it's like
it's got the Hands of Teutonica thing where it's like, I played it 15 times or so, and then I'm just like, boom, I hit a wall, and I'm like, never want to play this again.
yeah, it's just, I mean, I'll keep it on my shelf because it's one of those things where it's like, I know that, like, a year down the line, not even a year, at some point down the line, I'm going to say, oh, let's play it, just because it's got nice chunky bits, and it's kind of fun to play with, and it's just, fun to do your thing, but, yeah, it's, I mean, but... how many? And we've had this discussion before. I think we've done a podcast on this before. But I mean, name a game that you can play forever. That it's either has to be super simple, like a super simple rule set, like poker. Where you're not playing the game, you're playing the people.
Right.
Or it has to be something that somehow is like genuinely different each time you play it. So you never have to like come up with a different strategy or it's like because like it's just I don't know.
There's no game like that. That's why you have a collection, so you can move. If you look at the little shelf over here, it's like I'll play this one. I'll play these 3 this week, and then these 3, and then these 3, and then you just go all the way down and you get back. Hey, I haven't played trains in a while, and you get back to there's no game that I would play. Even. I've been thinking a lot about this. What was my favorite game of all time? Because I've never really said that, but I think it's Kalis. But that is not one that I would play forever. I would not play that every week for the rest of my life. There's just no way. There's just no way at all. The games only have so much space that you can explore, right? I mean, there's no game. I mean, you can say Go, but give me a break. Really? You're going to play that for the rest of your life? What am I, 80? I'm in the park in downtown San Francisco playing with the old guys. Those guys that they bring their own chess set and hustle each other for money. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a funny sight.
I've heard of it. I've never been there.
Anyway, but that's the only thing I can think of. But in that, they're not really playing chess. They're down there hustling each other for money. Trying to get the fresh blood. But I agree. I don't think there is any game.
You just remind me of a story, actually, and I don't want to like to bury the lead or anything, but when I was in Vegas for my bachelor party, the first night I was there, we ended up playing at the 1-2 no limit poker table for like hours. I mean, like literally hours. We got into town around like 7 or 8. I was tired. I went upstairs. I took a nap. My friends woke me up at 11. They said, let's go downstairs. And we asked if there was a poker table we could get on. They were like, yeah, we got a table for you. And we proceeded to sit there. And I ended up sitting at that table for like 8-9 hours and just sitting there playing poker. I don't know if you don't know what 1-2 no limit is for you or anybody who's listening. It's the blinds are always 1-2. So $1, $2, and so if you're playing in a full table of 10, it's like you can sit there forever, and you could just sit there and fold and fold and fold and fold, and you're like after an hour you're down $6, because you're not playing anything. But obviously you're trying to play cheaper hands or trying to get it on whatever. But I remember we sat there and all of us were sitting there and we had first night money and whatever. But middle of the night, everybody is like fast and free. We're all drinking and having a blast or whatever. The closer it gets to morning, the more like you can just tell these are the people that play for real, and they're and they're like showing up and they're sitting down with us, and it's like, and so we're like, oh, okay, these guys are actually like sober and have been up for like 70 hours, and you realize, and then they see our table and they've called their friends and they're showing up and they're going to be working the table. We could just tell they were just sitting down. Those 2-3 guys are going to start working the table and working to take our money, right? It sounds like it's right out of the movie Rounders if you've seen it, but it's true. It's like you can just tell these are the guys that just show up and they're they play poker for a living, and it's like, and so after about an hour or so, that wasn't fun anymore because they wouldn't. They were smart. They were smart money, and so we couldn't really win anymore, and we started losing. So we just got up and left. But you mentioned hustling. I was like, yeah, that's what those guys do, right? They sit there and play chess because that's the everything's better when money's on the line, right? That's supposedly that's like,
I guess, or
what
worse.
Gambling had to say.
Yeah.
Didn't you say you had like 7 questions left before?
Well, we do. We have 7 that were in the queue, but we've got a couple from the people who have been asking.
Oh, okay. If we actually have people listening. That's awesome.
Yep.
What do we got?
So first question is for me. So I'll just answer quickly. Right. Question for Joel: how important do you value the components of a new game? Example: Victory Point Games has very interesting mechanics and themes, but very amateurish boards and laser cut counters. Dave says his feeling is that they seem to be high-end prototypes, and I would say I appreciate that opinion, but also I think the art on the counters and the boards and the cards and all that stuff is high quality. I don't think that the art is prototype, worthy, whatever.
I think the stuff in Victory Point Games is awesome, and plus they have a game that's coming out that looks amazing. That's Soul Rising. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, that does look cool actually.
So I mean, they are definitely the little game company that could right now, but they and I'll stack Darkest Night against any co-op game as far as how awesome a co-op game can be.
Yeah.
I love Darkest Night. I love the fact that the Necromancer chases you around the board. I love that part of the game.
Yeah, and I'd say they have. I mean, I think you got to give them a little bit of slack because they're trying something different. They print in-house, with their own printers. I think they've made enough money to buy a second printer or something. I was reading because I get their newsletter, and so I think they've improved their printing methodology somehow because it does seem like they're getting better. So I think that the game enjoyment to me is much more important usually than the components. I mean, the components totally help. But I think they do a good enough job with, I guess 80% of their games that I think are really, really good. So I think I'm okay with it. Next question.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, as far as solo games go, Nemo's War is amazing by them as well.
Well, funny you should mention that. I just posted a podcast I did with Jeff Gamble, The Long View. We recorded it a few weeks ago. And we did a long view on Nemo's War. And at the end of that, Jeff tacked on an interview with Alan Emmerich of Victory Point Games, the guy that owns it, and they're redoing Nemo's War. They're coming out with what they call like their gold box edition. They're going to have the expansion included and some other tweaks and things. So I'm super excited about that. I mean,
that's an auto buy for me.
Absolutely. Okay, next question from Mr. Eric Leith from Games and Grub. He hasn't written it in a while. He should keep doing it. Anyway, his question is, a lot of people on Twitter have said they prefer the builders to Splendor. I have read such tweets. Do you think that's solely because of price point, because they both seem equally dry and mathy to me? There we go. I don't understand why people like the builders more than Splendor, because to me Splendor's better. I mean, no question. I don't think builders is bad at all. But to me, the builders is a little bit more flop-driven. if you guys aren't familiar, I'm gonna lose you here, but in builders you flop the buildings that you can score. Well, if you flop like a church and whatever that are like the 8-point buildings, and then I grab them, then there's no limit on reserving in the builders. So if I grab those high point buildings, I can sit on them if all the buildings come up are only 2 and 3-point buildings. Now in Splendor, you have the row 1, the row 2, and the row 3. So there's always a cheap one, there's always kind of a middle one, there's always an expensive one that you can grab. And you can't just grab them. I mean, you can reserve, but you have a hand limit on your reserve. And there's a real market there in terms of trading the chips in back and forth. So you can sit on the red chips. I mean, we've done that. And this is Splendor's one. I played this like 30 times, so I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody on how good this game is. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. But, we'll sit there I'll sit on a stack of red chips for like the entire game. And I'll say, oh, you reserved that card with a bunch of red. Take all the reds. And then you have to now grab yellow chips the rest of the game. So there's stuff you can do stuff like that in Splendor, which you can't really do in the Builders. Now the Builders has that cool mechanism where you can buy extra actions because you can do like 3 things, and if you build up a bunch of money, you can pay for a bunch of actions like at the end to end the game quickly and stuff. So it's a good game, but there's no way it's better than Splendor. Because you've got the luck of the flop. Splendor, you can do a lot more manipulation and screwage and stuff like that. So, whatever. Splendor's better.
I agree with you on most of those counts. The Builders just seem kind of like, it seemed like a really solid game for like the tiny little box that it comes in.
Yeah.
So which is something that it seems like now game companies just want to go to this small box thing, which whatever. Like take Harbor for example. Harbor's a heck of a good game in a small little box. So, yeah.
Holy cow! Though I looked up Splendor on Amazon, it's $40. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay. Price point. I didn't realize what the price point was. I got mine at Tabletop Day. I don't remember what. I think I paid $20 for it. It was cheap. It wasn't but I got a 15% discount from my game store, so I'm not sure. Might have been that. Okay, there was one other question in here. Joel, when you're going to review an 18xx game? Probably never.
Hey, I did a long time ago.
Yeah. I might get one played. I've got Baltimore and Ohio, which is almost 18xx. I need to review that at one point, but
What was the 18xx game I reviewed? It was the 18xx Lite. Poseidon. There you go. Yeah, that's a solid game.
Yeah, I should get that one and try to review it.
It's very 18xx Lite.
Mm-hmm. And then the last question that we have so far from the chat is, speaking of poker, what do you guys think about poker as a game, especially considering how well it works with large groups? I think it's an okay game, from a game perspective.
Yeah, I love poker. But the sad thing is that I used to, when I was single and I lived in an apartment by myself, I had the poker den. I worked at a same place I work now, but I worked there, and I worked a later shift, and I get done working, and there was like 4, 5, 6 guys that I worked with that I could stop by their desk, and it's like, hey, poker tonight, poker tonight, poker tonight. Mm-hmm. And then I had some other friends that I played poker, and I would have 9 to 12 people in my apartment 3, 4 nights a week, and we would just sit there and play $5, $10 sit and goes, just like everybody throw $10 in the pot, and we'd play poker for... and then I was done. Okay, everybody throw another $10 in the pot, and we mixed it up, and
yeah.
But yeah, we just played Hold'em like constantly, drinking beer and yucking it up and having a good time. So, I love poker. I love the interaction of it. I love playing the person. Sadly, I don't get to play it as much as I do, just because all those guys either moved away or. Now we all have families and whatever and stuff like that. I have tried to. I have a actual a poker top and everything like that, and I've tried to put garage poker together about a half a dozen times this summer, and I've only pulled it off twice, which is too bad. But whatever. Yeah. We all get older, right? You said you used to play poker all the time with your buddies too, right?
Yeah. We used to play. We had game night. We do game night every Wednesday, and that turned into poker night every Wednesday for a little while. Then it turned into Guitar Hero night every Wednesday for a little while, and then kind of went back to game night and then poker night. My thing with poker is I like it with people that know the game, will be somewhat serious, at least be involved, engaged with the game. I don't like to play it with novices that aren't really there and they don't really know what they're doing at all, which is fine. I mean, I appreciate that, but I don't like to play like that. But I also don't like to play with sharks and people that will go to the casinos and they play on a weekly thing and they take it really seriously, because they tend to cry a lot when they get sucked out on, and you're like, I'm chip poor. Of course, I'm going to suck you out on a 2-7 offsuit or whatever. Not a 2-7 offsuit, but like, quit crying about it. I mean, this is the distinct memory. The last time I think I played poker, with these people anyway, was, I was playing and I was in it. And I kept getting beats, and I was like, okay, I've got to go. And it was like a Jack King suited or something. I was like, and I sucked out into a flush or something, and this person got super upset, and I was like, so would you rather I just keep losing chips slowly over the next 4 games, or do you, make a stab? And it's like, so I don't want to like play at that point, but I do enjoy playing it somewhat. I'm not really going to play it again, though, because I kind of have sore feelings, because after a while we kept playing poker, like I said, and I'd rather be playing Kalis or Power Grid or whatever it was at the time. I almost cussed, but screw poker.
Well, I miss playing it as often as I did, but I would never want to play it so much that it would impede on the other stuff I do. I mean,
yeah.
I am lucky if I get 2 nights a week that I can devote to gaming, and it's tough for me to devote, and sometimes that's 1, and sometimes it's 0, and it's tough for me to say, okay, well, I'm just not going to play these board games, or I'm just not going to play D&D. It's just like when it comes down to it, it's a time and place type of situation, and I haven't played it as often as I like, but that's being an adult. You don't always get what you want.
There you go. New question. Now that we're answering questions, I think people are asking questions. Would you ever buy a game just for the pieces? Is the gist of the question. Like, you wouldn't buy the game for the rules of the game. You'd buy them to make up your own little game, or buy them just for the minis. I think is a thing a lot of people do.
Well, I have 2 answers to that question. I have 2 answers to the question. One, I bought Nordervind or Northwind just because I thought those little boats looked so freaking cool, and I thought that this game is going to be cool. I want to play this game because it looks so neat, and that is not a good game. It is it's painfully mediocre. I did a review of it a while back, and
I watched it.
And you did?
Yeah. I was curious what you thought of it, because I think you had actually mentioned to me before the review that you were on the fence.
Yeah.
At that early on.
Yeah, I mean it's a game that I'll play with my daughter or my family, but it's not a gamer's game, and it definitely just has weird issues, and it's just not very much fun. It gets way too redundant and way too. You learn which port to go to if you need to make money, and then you learn which port you go to if you want to make get resources, or you learn which port you have to go to if you want to get victory points, and you start, and it's just like, oh, it's my turn. Well, I don't have any money, so I need to get money so I can buy resources, so I can have resources turn to victory points. So I'm going to go to this port because we know which tiles are in there, because it's random how you set it up. Mm-hmm. And so you start just going through, and did I get lucky and get the money ones that I needed? Yay, I got the money ones I needed. Okay, well, the next turn I can go to the resource one that works really well for it. And so, and then after you've done that now for, like 7 turns in a row, you're just like, please shoot me. Just I don't want to do this anymore, and so it's painfully mediocre. But those little cardboard boats are really super freaking cool. I will say that. The second answer, I have never purposely purchased a game because I thought like the minis were cool and I could use them for something else.
Right.
But now that even though I play the game solo and I enjoy it, I cannot convince my gaming group to play Myth with me because they've just decided the game isn't fun, and so I can't convince them to play it anymore. So sadly, the miniatures in that will probably be appropriated for my D&D games, and I'll just end up painting those and what have you. So I mean, there you go. I mean, definitely I got sucked in when I saw the miniatures for Myth. I definitely was sucked in by that, but I also thought there was going to be a heck of a good game. And now that they actually have redone the rules and made it more clear, it is a fantastic, fun little game where you can kind of set up scenarios for yourself and what have you. But that's a whole other story. So there's my 2 comments as far as components go.
All right. Another question. We're going to skip. He's already asked a bunch of questions. I'll come back to him. How would you describe the 2014 class of games? What do you see as the common thread among the popular games?
Oh, that's kind of all over the place. I mean, I definitely feel myself switching back. I don't know about you, but I feel myself slipping back into an Ameritrash mood this year. I think I got Euro'd out at the beginning of the year, and it's just like, and I actually, let me touch on something really quick. And I was going to say this. You said you'd be hard pressed to pick your favorite game of all time. You said it might be Kalis. Sure. It's really weird, man. I would have said Arkham Horror for so many years, and then of course Eldritch Horror kicked it to the curb. So, but it's, I don't know, the big games. Like, look at the big games that are coming out in Gen Con. I know we're going to be talking about that later, but like the big games coming out in Gen Con, I mean, mostly the games I'm mostly excited about are the games that are more on the Ameritrash end. Those are the games that are exciting me. I mean, there's that weird game like Hyperborea. I mean, that game looks awesome, and that's more of a thematically driven game. I'm trying to, and like I said, we're kind of touching on the big Gen Con thing, but
that's okay.
No, that's okay. Stronghold Games has some stuff coming out, like the BSG Express, but not BSG Express game.
Dark Moon, yeah.
Yeah, Dark Moon, that's coming out. I mean,
that's coming out in 2015.
It got pushed back?
Yeah.
Son of a...
Yeah. Beep.
Yeah. Gee dang it, as I catch myself saying around my kids all the time. Funny story about my kids. I'm going to tell you the story. So my son was sitting there playing with his trucks, he went and stayed with my in-laws one afternoon when I was at work, and they were remodeling their kitchen. And I went and got my son. I was like, "Oh, thanks for watching, whatever." And I came home, and he was playing with his trucks on my end table, and I'm sitting there trying to watch TV or whatever, and he's like smashing them into each other, and he's all of a sudden he just starts saying, "G," and "son of a," and S word, and I was like, "What the heck?" Grandpa was working on the.
That's funny.
Yeah, I had to laugh, and my father-in-law is I love that guy so much. He's just such an awesome dude. So I told him the story, and we had a really good laugh over it. So, but he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like, "Don't worry about it. It didn't stick." He isn't saying it all the time, but yeah, I had to laugh about that. But yeah, that's I feel myself kind of moving away from the Euro side of the world right now, and I don't know why. Maybe there just hasn't been a really stunning Euro game. Right. I mean, I don't know. I'm just getting tired of the constant Feldian point salad stuff that's coming out now, and I think that's what stinks the most, is that people start kind of following suit too much. It's like, all these games with 7,000 ways to score. Is that? That's what everybody likes. Right. Let's make another 17 games like that. It's just like, please, no, stop. Mm-hmm. So, but maybe I'm just being a grumpy guy. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really know if there's a trend or anything. I mean, in general, what the good games are. There's still some Euros that I like that I'm interested in. Madeira is one that I really like and still like.
That's the one exception, because that game actually said, you know what, we're just going to make a monster game. And most people aren't going to like this just because it's going to be convoluted. It's going to take you 4 hours to play, and it's going to be just a mind froth to get through it. And we're going to do it. And so Panamax is the one game the one Euro game that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah,
I'm
which
like,
apparently will be there in very limited supplies, but I believe it's
oh,
going to be there.
I'll be getting a copy if I have to knock over my own mother to get one. That'll happen.
But yeah, I think I've been surprised by some games. I mean, Darker Darkness is actually a surprise for me. That's one that I've still been playing. I think underrated because of the junky rule book it came with. But
The revisioned rule book is well done.
oh yeah, it's fine. I mean, really.
And I know you and I actually enjoy Rogue Agent, which of course nobody else does apparently. So
No, most people enjoy it. It's just there's a certain network of people that don't enjoy it.
yeah.
For some reason, no, I'm joking, but most people enjoy it. I went and counted. We had a little email thread going with some people, and I counted all the reviewers that are not just like a one-shot review post on BGG that done they do a series of reviews, written and video, and there are way more people that like the game than don't. So there you go.
See, I like playing that game without the androids. That's how I like playing.
I don't know about that. I'll never play that without the androids ever.
I think it's so weird. I kind of like just the whole puzzle of trying to catch them, and then I really like trying to steal the people from them as they're trying to get back with them.
Right.
I enjoy that part of it. So I don't know.
But I think there's a lot of games that I think there's been a lot of surprises this year. Like Star Realms is kind of a big surprise.
Out of nowhere, too.
How well it's done and how popular it's become. It's really kind of like the hotness right now. I mean, in a way, it was the hotness come out of Origins for sure. Everybody was talking about Star Realms, and I think the game's really good, but it's one of my top 5 of the games so far. Splendor, I mean, that kind of just came out of nowhere. It's just like, what's this game, Splendor? Yeah, it's really good. And like I said, I played it 30 times. I mean, we played it like non-stop for a month at work, and it was just, it's just really good, but I don't understand, it's not really like any other games. There's not a bunch of Splendor clones out there except for maybe the builders, but.
Well, I put Splendor in the same group that I put games like Biblios. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, and so Splendor for me is like the new version of Biblios. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's tough to pin down. So we got a bunch more questions here. We'll keep going. I have about 20 minutes, and then I got a jet. But
okay, I got probably a little bit less than that. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we'll be quicker. So this one's for you. We'll go for you. Lance, being in Fargo, have you ever had any issues with the cold messing up board game components? Do you take any special precautions for it?
Honestly, no. I mean, I had one situation where when I was coming back from Con of the North, strangely enough, my copy of Hansa Teutonica, as I was carrying it, I tripped and I slipped on the ice, and like a lot of the components ended up in the snowbank. But I pulled them out and washed them off and whatever, and it turned out fine. I mean. In Fargo, well, actually, technically, I live in Moorhead, which is like the city directly east of Fargo. It's in Minnesota. I mean, as I said, I could throw a rock from my porch and get pretty close to hitting North Dakota, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's very dry. Which sounds weird because we get a ton of snow, but it's very dry in the upper north here in the Midwest, and so we don't really get any kind of like damp cold. So you really don't have to worry about it. I mean, we actually have to, if I get, I mean, like one of those weird things is like I get nosebleeds if I take an aspirin during the winter because it just thins out my blood and it's so dry that you end up like, I'll just be sitting there and blood will come out of my nose because it's just like, that's how it's like it's so arid. It's like they say the moisture in the air is less than like the Sahara Desert in at some points during the winter. Yeah. And so we never really have to worry. I never really have to worry about climate as far as the games are concerned. I mean, I have to worry about the basement in my house is during the summer it's awesome because it's like about 10-15 degrees cooler than anywhere else in the house. During the winter it's still 10 to 15 degrees cooler than anywhere in the house. So it's definitely like you'll notice in the winter. I will a lot of times, like I try to wear my funny shirt or whatever when I do my review, but you'll see a lot of videos where I'm wearing a hoodie. Basically because it's probably like 55 degrees in my basement, and I just it's chilly when I'm doing my videos. So.
Yeah, I live in Idaho actually, so it's not as cold as it gets in your place, but it gets chilly, snowy in the winter. And I have had issues with components, like a Myth board or Galaxy Defenders, where I got the boards and they kind of warped a little bit, but it was easy to fix. I just mashed them down, and they haven't warped since. So it's just a matter of usually the box is sitting outside, is sitting in the UPS truck or whatever, chilling out. And then they sit on my porch for a couple hours before I get home, depending if my wife is here to bring them in and stuff. But it's usually just a little bit of board warping, and it's usually fixed within a couple of days, and sometimes I think that could be partly just that material of that specific game. It's definitely not a ubiquitous issue. But let's see. Next question. How do you guys suggest finding new gamer friends or bringing non-gamer friends to the table? Nothing special. I think just all the things. Meetup groups, go to Board Game Geek, find the forum for your regional area. Like we have I think a inland northwest region, and there's a big giant Spokane, Washington thread that we used, but now that thread doesn't really get used because there's kind of like the group I go to. There's a group at two other shops, and then there's another group that plays kind of at this kind of mall place. So. But a lot of that kind of sprung out of that initial thread. So I would say look there for sure, and then meetup groups and.
Go to your local game store and see if they have an open gaming night. That's the big thing.
Or if you're trying to get, start one. Because there's a, say find a day that's good for you. That's not a Friday because that'll be Magic Day, but and try to start a board game thing and see if the owner's good. If the owner is like hems and haws about it, screw him. Go to some other game store because that's not the store for you.
Because he's not going to want to support what you're, or she, I should say, was not going to want to support what you're doing. I will say this: trying to get non-gamers to the table, you do have to find, as with any board game, you have to find that one game that's going to draw them in. You actually, if you go to Scott Nicholson did a geek list a while back. He called them bait games, games that you can set up, and people will walk by and they'll see it and they'll say, "That looks really interesting. I'd really like to play that." And the games that have like a hook to them, like either whether it's the components or just the actions or whatever that you have to do to play it, and so something you can introduce to them. I mean, you can't go wrong with Ticket to Ride if you're looking for a bait game like is that. It's like, ooh, look, little trains. You can't, and also the ease of play. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the game anymore, or really never was. But there's a reason why it sold 100 million copies. It's because people really like it. Find something that like you can teach somebody in like 5-10 minutes. Heck, Rise of Augustus. That's a game you can teach in relatively quickly. It's bingo basically. Find something that you can that's quick to teach and that they can play in a half hour or a little bit more than that. And I think you'll be able to turn your non-gamers into gamers. And you know what? And the big thing is this. I don't want to like go off on a rant or anything, but like
do it.
Some people just aren't gamers.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
I would love if my wife would like want to play board games with me more often than she does, but she doesn't, and every once in a while she like will say, it's like, oh well, do you want to play a game? And I'm just like, oh yeah, and so it's like go and grab them. But those instances aren't as often. Usually it's me hounding her. It's like, I really need to play this game, I need to review it, and it's like, fine, we can play it after the kids go to bed, and it isn't that she doesn't have fun, it's just there's like 10 different things she'd rather be doing, whether it's like watching one of her favorite shows, or researching something on the internet, like some home thing that she wants to do, or baking or something like that. And so there are people out there that just aren't going to share your hobby, and that's cool. I mean, so don't hound them, don't try to turn them into you, whether you're friends or your spouse or your partner or whatever. Just
that's the
let
thing.
them be them, and yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to. Here's the thing: is people, you think that, and I think I've made this mistake honestly. And you want to say, okay, I'm going to example. Take Ticket to Ride. They're going to like that. And then because they like Ticket to Ride, they're going to want to play Kalis after playing Ticket to Ride. Or they're going to want to play Russian Railroads or whatever. They're not going to be like you for sure. And they maybe get close to that. But the thing is that I would say, kind of dovetail off your thing, is find a game, show them your whole collection, show them the whole thing, right? And say, hey, you know, take some stabs. Hey, here's Steam, here's Trains, here's, well, not hegemonic, but here's Ancient Terrible Things. There'll be some games you can sell too, right, out the gate. But, you know, you say, what looks cool to you? And you say, well, this one, you know, it'll probably take us 2-3 hours. You know, you want to add on some time for rules and if they're new to games. But really kind of, you know, bring them in and have your empathy for their needs at this point. You sacrifice a little bit of yourself. And I would say don't just fall back on Ticket to Ride. I said this a million times. Ticket to Ride doesn't always work. I've played it with people who are like, this game is dumb. And they're not gamers. They're like, this is stupid. I'm collecting sets of cards and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. It's not good for you. And I played Catan with people, and they're like, I hate the trading, you know. Somebody trade with me, or they never trade, you know. Like, it just doesn't work for them. And it's maybe something you come back to later, but, you know, find some theme that they like or something, you know, get into their head a little bit, what kind of stuff they like to do. They like to work on puzzles, so maybe you do like a Feld or, you know, whatever. You know, you use them, and then at the end of the day, they may not be a gamer, you know, at heart, which is fine. But I'd say, yeah, I don't like the whole, these are the best gateway game ideas. And I think it's true, though. I think Ticket to Ride probably is the best gateway game at the end of the day because it probably is going to, you know, the majority of people will probably like it over those that don't. But I don't think you should approach it that way. I think you should approach it as, you know, hey, what do you like? What sounds cool to you, etc. Okay.
And I definitely think, and not to not just, I definitely think it should be something where if they're a non-gamer, we'll let them come to you about, like, you know, it's like maybe I should try out one of those games that you keep talking about, and let them, you know, do the first foray. It's like, you know, we're having game night at my house. It'd be cool if you showed up. Oh, okay, I'll think about it. And when they don't show up, maybe just remind them, yeah, we had game night. You didn't show up. Oh, remind me next time. If after like a couple of times they're not showing up, they're not showing up for a reason. So you can just say, oh, okay, well, that isn't your thing, and then you can move on. So,
yeah,
and that's that.
Yep. Okay, we have one more question, and maybe we'll just make this this is a good one. Good final question here. We didn't get to any of our previous 7, but we'll just keep
those poor bastards. Yeah. All right, lay it on me. All
right. So, have you
Why
ever
do you suck so much, Lance?
Yeah. Why don't you both shave? Oh, sorry. Have you ever had a "Oh my God, Samus is a girl" type surprise moment in a board game? Something that like blew your mind, you know? And I'm gonna think about that. I know I have, but I'm not remembering. So I'm
I don't have a thing behind me. I've definitely had moments, and I love this moment, and it hasn't happened often enough recently, where I've been playing a game, and like a turn or two in, like I find myself just kind of smiling and bouncing in my chair, and I'm just kind of like, whoa, you know, this game's this is awesome. This is awesome how this is working. I mean, Madeira was probably like the last one that I had that moment. I mean, the Seamus thing was like, that was just a smack in the face. I mean, that'll never. I don't think that you can beat that one. I mean, there's been other video games that have tried to do like the, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, like moment. But I mean, I don't think.
Quick, have you played the Parable of Stanley's Parable? That's brand new. Have you played it?
Is that a board game?
No, it's a video game. It's nutty. It's friggin' nutty. It's like $5 or $10, depending on if it's on sale on Steam. Yeah, I can't spoil it for you, but you start like sitting at a computer desk in your cube, and then it just goes from there. So I don't want to spoil it, but that game is really blowing. I played it for like 2 hours last night, and I was like, this game it's hilarious too. The guy that does the narration for the Fantasy Flight games, you know, who does like the narration on the how to play trailers. He does the narration in this game. Anyway. So I'm sorry to interrupt that, but I just wanted to...
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. No, I mean, games. There's definitely been games that I didn't think I'd like that I end up liking, which, you know, was pretty amazing for me.
Right.
You know, I mean, but I don't think you really can be surprised. I mean, I guess.
I'll give you one.
well, Risk Legacy had like the had like the secret thing, and I was really impressed when Risk Legacy had the thing where if like you opened up the box and you peeled out the like the backing or whatever, there was an envelope that said, "Do not open this under any circumstances," and I think that's probably, in my opinion, that was genius. I mean, really, honestly, that was. I mean, just that whole idea that like, and then don't open this ever, and it's just kind of like, oh well, what's in it? It just kind of like, and then I'm not going to ruin it for people that have the game and are wondering whether or not they're going to open it. But of course,
it's not the same in every game.
Oh, it isn't?
There's like 5 or 6 different ones, or 3 or 4 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, like mine was whatever it was, but it was just kind of like. Yeah. I actually sat there and stared at it for like 5 minutes. I'm just like, well, maybe I shouldn't open it. Just kind of like. So I mean, that's probably the closest as far as like me being like totally stunned by like something a board game can do. Right. Just to kind of just smack you in the face with something unknown. Right. Anyway, what do you got for me?
Okay, I have several. I mean, a lot of them are mechanical things like Madeira, and I'm like, oh, this is great, or Hegemonic was really fun, and the first time I played Lone Hers and stuff like that. But most recently, we played the heck out of One Night Werewolf at my game group. We usually played a couple of times, on game night, maybe to wrap up game night or start off game night, and really have a great time with it. And I need to try to borrow a copy, but nobody's gonna lend me a copy because they're gonna want to play it, and then I'm gonna miss the next game night. But I don't really need to buy it because I'm not gonna play that game with my family. They're not really into that kind of thing. So I may never review it, but it's really good. I mean, and we have just a friggin' riot because you've got so many different roles with that thing. Whereas like Resistance, you don't really have. You got those little plot twist cards, and I don't have Avalon. I'm trying to get Avalon to play that some more. But there's so much variety in One Night Werewolf. You can get the troublemaker and the drunk and the doppelganger, which just totally screws things up. You almost shouldn't play. One time we played with the drunk, the doppelganger, and the troublemaker all at once. So if you play the game, it just totally screws it up. And it takes like 10 minutes to play. You have like 5 minutes of I guess prep time where everybody's doing their roles secretly, and then 5 minutes of discussion. And we've had a few games that are broken down, but it's not a big deal because we'll just play it again and it won't break down. But that one has been really surprising, just like, from you reveal who the werewolf is sometimes, and you're like, oh shit, I never thought, you were the werewolf or whatever. And, or even one game, the first time this happened where it broke down was, I was the werewolf and somebody troublemakered me away, because when you troublemaker, you switch to people without looking at it. Mm-hmm. And then, it was pretty much we started discussing in the discussion phase, and it was like, well, I troublemakered Joel and Billy, and I was like, oh, I was the werewolf. He's the werewolf. And then since I opened my eyes, I'm like, Tom was also the werewolf. I saw him, and Tom just totally turned red. He's like, oh, what? The game was over like, in a minute. I was like, no, seriously. I was like, I was the werewolf, and he totally, and it was like, so it was kind of anticlimactic, but it was funny because it was just like, oh, you took mine? Okay, they're the werewolves. Done. So yeah. Done and done. Yeah.
No, the One Night Werewolf
I really was. Yeah.
It is an excellent game, and cheap too if you want to pick up a copy. So.
Yeah, you gotta have the app too, with the narrator.
Oh yeah.
Eric Summers, the narrator there. It's really helps. You don't need the moderator and all that stuff.
Yeah, just put the phone in the middle of the table and go.
Yep.
Very cool. Oh, well, it sounds like you got to go cook or eat or something with your family, right?
Yeah, I got to go feed Tortoise and bring it inside. Hopefully the cats haven't killed it. And
you have a tortoise?
Yeah. I know in Idaho. My son wanted one about 2 years ago, and he saved up his own money and bought himself a tortoise. I told him if he saved up, it was $100. I said, okay, if you save up your own money, and then I will chip in and build a little shelter and stuff for you. Not build, but buy the shelter. And, we'll take care of it. And he's forgot about it since that it exists. It's now mine and my wife's, and the thing is probably going to outlive us. So we've made a solemn, silent pledge to it that We call it Lisa. We said, Lisa, one day we will move to a warm climate and you can be outside all day. So, because it sucks in the winter for her.
Now, my brother actually lives in Vegas, and he has like 3 desert tortoises that just live in his backyard year round.
Yeah, it's cool.
So, and then one day they came out, and there was like 12 little baby tortoises out there. They had like they had laid eggs underneath the deck, and so they took them out to the desert and let them go.
Yeah, we got a little heat lamp and like this big bin with. We got to change the dirt every once in a while, and she just lives in there and kind of hibernates a little bit in the winter. We don't let her hibernate all the way because they can die if you don't do it right. So, we just but she slows way down in the winter and doesn't eat. But it's great when we put her outside in the summer because she's just out there like tromping around and getting her exercise. And anyway,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, a pleasure, my man. You get on
yes,
that.
Sir.
You get hold of Mr. Ham there, and we got to get him lined up for the Gen Con extravaganza.
Yeah, we'll make that happen. We'll talk offline, but yeah, we'll make that happen.
All right, sounds amazing. And Eric just tweeted, "When will Joel and Undead Viking have a beard off?" I've often said
I lose. I mean, there's no beard off.
Well, I have said I don't know if I ever will do a Kickstarter. I don't think I ever will. But if I ever did, I was going to put something on there. I said, if you are ridiculous enough to pledge me $1,000, I'll shave off my beard. But I always said I'd do that. I have not seen my chin in probably it's a good 25 years or so. So there you go. But hey, quit tweeting while you're supposed to be talking to me.
All right,
my brother. I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye everyone. See you, Lance.
Bye everyone.